even 5 minutes of having the photon therapy light on your face or on your back, if you're having some back pain, will just kind of calibrate you for the day. I have so many people, so many customers who they don't know what's going on. They just, after they use the sauna, they're like, I don't know what this is, but I feel better and I'm happier. And what is this feeling,
Yeah.
And that's what's happening. So once you give your body this thing that, by the way, we're supposed to get it every day, a daily dose of the sun, preferably morning sun, where the ratio of red near infrared to blue ultraviolet's the lowest. And there's actually some interesting studies in that too. There's a recent study, there's 2 of them in the last couple of years that showed that morning, and not afternoon, but morning near infrared light exposure to the eyes reduces, or it stops and slows down worsening of the eyesight.
Yes.
But it wasn't the afternoon light, it was the morning light.
I've heard Huberman talk about this, that it sets you up for actually the next day's health. So it allows you to prime yourself because you're getting all the input through your eyes, and then your metabolism is reset for your circadian rhythm the next day.
Yeah, the next day. And also immediately it has a photoprotective effect against the coming ultraviolet light and the blue, or for nowadays, like those of you who live indoors, right? It's the blue light.
Which is pretty much everyone.
Everyone everywhere. So
unless you're blessed to live in a camp.
I would love to live the avatar life, right?
Yeah,
like that's ideal. That's what we're programmed to do. But here we are, I don't want to escape things. I want to affect change for the good here where we are. So we live in a blue light world, a synthetic blue light world. And so when I travel, for example, I always have the photon with me, and I make sure not to turn any light on, even in the bathroom, until I light that up and have that just for even like a couple minutes before I get any blue light into the eyes. And that's the same concept as what we're talking about also at night. But in the morning, if you get blue light into your eyes first, it has an antagonistic influence on the rest of your day. It already gets you into sympathetic dominance. You already start to get stressed out because that's not designed to happen. What does the sunrise look like? It's red and orange. That's because in the beginning, it's only near infrared and red. You can actually stare at the sun on a flat horizon for like a couple minutes, depending on your color of your eyes, for a couple minutes, and without any risk of that. Of course, I'm not a healthcare practitioner, Josh. You'll have to, all y'all have to explore this for yourselves. But in the first few minutes, that's true. There's no blue or no ultraviolet. It's all red. So we get that in the beginning, and the rest of our day's good.
There's something that we're drawn to it and we don't know why. It's all this mitochondrial activity that really is this ancient bacteria that's telling us to do the behavior. In other words, we look at it, it feels good, but so many people start their day by flicking on these lights. And by the way, these lights flicker. We can't see them, but they're flickering all the time. And that flicker combined with the blue, I'm sure messes us up. So there's some kind of healing component to the photon that allows that to be
I'm glad
fixed.
You brought that up. So flickering light is known as pulsed light. It's digital light. It's light that's turning on and off many times a second. So all of these these are LEDs or fluorescents?
I think they're LEDs.
Yeah, so LEDs flicker 120 times a second. So it's 120, which is 2 times the 60 hertz electrical supply that we have. So it's turning 100%, the wattage that's hitting your eyes is 100% on and off 120 times a second. So that's obviously like a strobe light hitting you. And all of the modern lighting is afflicted by this, all the fluorescent lighting, all the LED lighting, which is actually mandatory in so many places nowadays. And there's definitely a fair amount of research on the nervous stressor effect of that, like people getting migraines, having neuropsychiatric symptoms like depression and sadness and anxiety, just with screen fatigue, working with the screen. So that was a new understanding that I actually had with the photon, because I originally invented I modernized Dr. Kellogg's sauna, right? And that was the first product at SaunaSpace for many years. And I still have one of them. It's made out of pine. The first photon I made it for fun. And then somebody's like, I think other people would like that. And I thought to myself, well, I like it. So let's see what happens. Let's go with this. And then I introduced it and it really caught on. And we'll talk more about why it's so clever, why it's so valuable. But the first thing I stumbled upon, and I measured this, was that it cancels out blue light and it cancels out the measurable flicker, the measurable flickering light that comes from digital LED light sources. So I was first measuring screen monitors and just not studio lights, but just standard home fluorescent LED lighting. So when you hold a spectrometer in front of the light source and then you bring the photon in, and it doesn't have to be like close, it can be 4 feet away, the non-flickering near-infrared dominant photons coming from the thermalite bulb enter into the space, and the spectrometer shows like that the blue light peak drops to 0. It's incredible. So it's canceling out the measurable blue light. So if you're canceling out the measurable blue light, then you're minimizing the amount of blue light that's actually hitting you. So the blue light stress is dramatically reduced. And then I was like, the flicker. And I measured the flicker from the screens, most of which have a very dramatic, LED flicker. Mm-hmm. And the flicker would go away. And I was like, what is going on here? So my theory is that the non-flickering photons from the incandescent light source of this really high temperature filament are filling in the gaps in between the pulses, so that what we perceive, what we measure, is analog full spectrum continuous light, like direct current light. So by the way, the LEDs flicker because it's alternating current. So alternating current is switching directions like 60 times a second. That's what the hertz is. And great for distribution of power and providing us electricity in all the homes, but terrible for our health. So the analog light of nature is DC. It's direct current. It's all the time. Same thing with EMFs. The current of the earth is not AC, it's DC. So then I was like, wait a second, I'll just work with this next to me all day long. And then that led into an even larger conversation. So people use this to beat screen fatigue, where we get stressed out. So we're canceling out the blue light and the flickering light. We're making the outdoor environment more like the indoors, and our office space, where so many of us work all day long in front of these screens, and the stress of working and the emails and the whole interaction, the forced interaction with the computer in order to provide for ourselves and make money. It's just a reality we have to live with. So I have my photon on our photon desk arm, but you can equally just have it next to you pointing up.
That's typically what I do. I just have it I work there at the standing desk quite a bit, and I'll just slant it up because it gets warm. So it's like a good, 3 feet away from me. It's a pretty big standing desk. And I'll just have it slanted up so that my eyes are getting more of the light than my body. But then when I go in the space, I'm going 15, 20 minutes and I'm feeling the heat and I'm sweating right away. So there's like I guess you could say, acute use of the SaunaSpace, but then just the photon, you can use that thing all day long. I remember our mutual friend Luke, I went to his studio and he had the light on. I'm like, what are you trying to like heat up eggs in here? I didn't know what he was doing, but then I found out about the technology. So we can use this all day long.
So and that was the huge epiphany I had. I had this huge download. I was like, wait a second, I'm using it at the office all day long. I can go home and I can continue to use it. So the classical uses, as you said, with the photon, one bulb is 12 to 36 inches or something, to provide relief of local tissue. So you use it on the naked flesh. That's the classical use. Single lamp therapy, it's called. This dates back to those 100 years ago or more with Dinshaw and Kellogg and others. And so I've always had that, but then I realized, wow, it's actually a firelight. It's an indoor campfire that's way portable, way easy to use, very safe to use in an indoor environment, very convenient. How can you have a campfire indoors? And so I started using it all day long.
Check out some of the videos on this screen that are perfectly curated based on the video you just saw. Make sure you follow me, and I'll see you in the next video.